Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're sort of taking to the skies, but no runway needed.
That's right.
We're plunging into the rules and, well, the theory behind flying recreational drones. The licensing side of things, too.
Yeah, we're looking at the official drone licensing and operation regulations,
Yeah.
and also that theoretical study material for recreational use PDF, kind of our flight manuals for this chat.
Exactly. And our mission, for you listening, is pretty clear. Pull out the really vital stuff you need to fly your drone safely, legally, without getting totally bogged down in every single tiny detail.
We want those aha moments, the crucial bits, maybe some surprising things you didn't know.
So getting straight into it, what actually counts as a drone according to these rules? What are we talking about here?
Well, interestingly, for sport and recreation, a drone, or sometimes they call it a glider, actually, it's basically any unmanned aircraft that weighs less than 150 kilograms. That includes anything it's carrying, by the way.
150 kilos. Wow.
Yeah. It's a pretty broad definition. Covers your typical multicopters, sure, but also fixed-wing types, even helicopter drones. The main things are that weight limit under 150 kilos and that you're flying purely for fun, for leisure.
Okay, so even a fairly big fixed-wing model, if it's under that weight and just for recreation, falls under these rules. That's surprising.
It is. My little camera drone is definitely way, way under that. Now, I've also seen terms like large drone and small drone. What's the deal with those? Does size change the rules much?
It absolutely does. Those weight distinctions are really important for how much oversight there is. So a large drone is anything over 25 kilograms at takeoff.
Okay, 25 kilos, got it.
And then a small drone is way down at the other end, 250 grams or less. That cutoff, 250 grams, is pretty significant because, as we'll see, these small drones often get slightly easier rules for things like registration or where you can fly them.
Right. And it's also really important to separate the recreational license, which is only for sport and hobby flying, from a commercial license. That's for UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles used for business. They've got their own set of rules, usually much stricter.
Okay, different licenses for different reasons, and weight is a big factor. So say someone wants to fly just for fun, recreationally. What are the steps to actually get that license?
Right. First thing is age. You got to be at least 12 years old to even apply.
12, okay.
Then there's language. You need to be proficient reading, speaking, understanding in either Hebrew or English. And crucially, this includes having a decent grasp of the technical English terms used in aviation, for drone stuff.
Technical English. Does that mean, like, reading aircraft manuals level? Sounds a bit daunting.
Well, it sort of highlights that even flying for fun isn't just, a toy. There are safety aspects. It doesn't mean you need full pilot jargon, but terms like altitude, airspeed, restricted area stuff you'll see in safety guidelines and maybe official notices. The study material probably covers the key ones. But the main hurdle, really, is the Professional Aviation Knowledge Test. You have to pass this online test. It's on the Civil Aviation Authority, the CAAI website. That proves you understand the rules of the air, safe operation, all that.
Right, so brushing up on the regs and terms is key for that test. Is there any reason someone might actually get refused a recreational license, even if they meet the age and language stuff?
Yes, definitely. The CAI director can refuse to issue or renew a license for up to a year, actually, in a couple of situations. One is if you give false or, misleading information when you apply.
Makes sense.
And, more seriously, they can refuse if they have reasonable grounds to think you might operate the drone in a way that could endanger people's lives or property people not involved in your flight, I mean. It really boils down to showing you're responsible and safety conscious.
Totally fair. Safety's got to be number one. Okay, so you've got the license, you've got a drone, and let's say it's not one of those super light small drones. What about registering it?
Ah, yes. Registration. It's mandatory for pretty much all drones except those small drones, under 250 grams. You have to register it with the CAAI.
Okay.
And once that's done, you get a registration number. That number has to be marked on the drone itself, clearly, permanently, on the outside so it's visible during flight. Think of it like a license plate for your drone.
Right, an ID tag. And how long is that registration good for? Do you have to keep doing it?
It's valid for 4 years from when they issue it. Then you can apply to renew it, again for another 4 years. So yeah, it's not just a one-off thing.
Okay, 4 years.
And there's more responsibility there too.
Yeah.
You legally have to tell the CAAI within 14 days if something significant happens to your registered drone. Like if it's destroyed or stolen, if you'd sell it, or if the registered owner passes away,
Yeah.
you need to keep their records accurate.
14 days. Okay, good to know. What info do they actually need when you register? Just your name.
Oh, no, it's more specific than that. They need details about the drone itself. Manufacturer's name, the model, and importantly, the manufacturer's ID number, if it has one, or the serial number of the flight controller. It helps uniquely identify each drone.
Gotcha. Specific drone details. Now, what about kids? You said the minimum age for a license is 12. What if someone younger, say 10 or 11, really wants to fly? Are they just completely out of luck?
Not completely. The rules do allow someone under 12 to fly, but only under really strict supervision.
Okay, how strict are we talking?
Very strict. First, the supervisor has to be at least 16 years old and hold a valid recreational drone license themselves. That supervisor is then totally responsible for making sure the drone's operated according to all the rules.
Right.
And here's the kicker. The supervisor has to be physically right there within 2 meters of the young operator the whole time.
2 meters. Wow, that's close. Practically holding the controls together.
Pretty much. It's so they can physically take immediate control if needed. I mean, keeping a kid under 12 literally within arm's reach of the controls while they fly, that's real dedication from the supervisor.
Definitely.
And that's not all. The supervisor also has to constantly scan the sky for hazards, other planes, obstacles, whatever, from start to finish. And of course, direct visual contact with the drone itself has to be maintained the entire time. It's all about having that licensed adult actively supervising and ready to jump in instantly.
That sounds like a huge amount of focus needed from the supervisor.
Okay, let's shift to actually flying.
Yep.
What are some of the really key operational rules every recreational pilot needs burned into their brain before takeoff?
Well, number one, absolutely fundamental, is maintaining direct visual contact with your drone. Always.
Direct visual contact. Define that a bit more. It means either you, the pilot, or a designated visual observer has to be able to see the drone with your own eyes. Glasses or contacts are fine, but no binoculars, no zoom cameras, none of that, just your eyes. Just let you know exactly where it is. It's orientation, altitude, direction, all the crucial stuff.
Okay, own eyes only. You mentioned a designated observer. When can you use one of those?
Right, so if you, the pilot, can't maintain that direct line of sight for some reason, you can use a visual observer. But there are rules for the observer, too.
Of course there are.
They have to be at least 16. They need to be positioned right next to you, the pilot, so you both basically have the same view of the drone and the airspace around it. And there has to be constant, clear communication between you, talking back and forth to coordinate and keep scanning for potential problems. It's very much a team effort, focused on safety.
Like a co-pilot on the ground. Makes sense. What about flying times? Any rules about day versus night?
Big restrictions there for recreational flyers. Generally, night flying is a no-go. Forbidden.
Really? No night flying at all?
Well, the only exception is if the pilot also has a commercial drone license. Even then, they're limited to flying no higher than 50 meters at night.
Ah, okay. Commercial license needed for night ops. What about dusk? That tricky in-between time.
Dusk flying has its own rules, too. Your drone has to have flashing lights visible for at least 5 kilometers. It makes it easier to spot. And you still need to maintain that direct visual contact, making sure you can actually see those lights clearly. So yeah, no recreational nighttime light shows unless you've got that commercial ticket.
Good to know. Stick to daylight or make sure you're properly equipped for dusk. What other big operational don'ts should be on our radar?
Well, the obvious one first. Flying dangerously or recklessly is absolutely forbidden. Anything that could endanger life or property or breaks any rules.
Right.
Specifically, you can't drop anything from your drone during recreational flights. No spraying materials either. And there are strict minimum distances from emergencies. You need to stay at least 5 kilometers away from active fires, rescue operations, or even traffic accidents.
5 kilometers? That seems like a really long way. Why so far? Is it just about not getting in the way?
That's likely the main reason avoiding interference with emergency aircraft like helicopters or ground crews. But also, keeping drones out of what could be a chaotic and potentially hazardous airspace around an incident.
Makes sense. And any other distance rules like that?
Yes, also need to stay at least 1 kilometer away from any incident involving the prison service.
Okay, 5 kilometers from fires rescues, 1 kilometers from prison incidents. Got it. What about flying from a moving vehicle, like from a car or a boat?
Generally, no. Operating a drone from inside or on any moving aircraft, vehicle, boat, anything moving, motorized or not, is prohibited.
Unless.
The only exception is if you're flying over an area that's officially designated as not being a populated area. So yeah, taking drone shots from a moving car, driving through a city, definitely out. Maybe from a boat way out in open, unpopulated water, perhaps okay, but generally avoid it.
Right. It sounds difficult enough to control without adding movement underneath you. What if you have, say, 2 drones? Can you fly both at once?
Nope, absolutely not. The rules are clear. One person operates only one drone at a time. And you can't even be the visual observer for more than one drone at once either. One operator, one drone in the air, period.
Keeps it simple, I guess, and using it to carry things, like delivering a small package across the park.
Not if that package has anything considered dangerous material. Transporting hazardous goods or materials with a recreational drone is strictly forbidden.
Okay, no hazardous deliveries. What about avoiding other things in the sky?
Huge responsibility there. You must avoid any chance of collision with other aircraft, manned planes, helicopters, gliders, even other drones. You always have to give way to manned aircraft and gliders. That means actively scanning the sky around you, maintaining safe separation.
And if there is a risk?
Land immediately. If you think there's any risk of a collision, get your drone on the ground right away. Don't take off again until the other aircraft is well clear and you've double-checked the airspace info, checking things called the AIP and NOTAM.
AIP and NOTAM. Okay, we definitely need to circle back and explain those clearly. But first, the basics. How high and how fast can you actually fly recreationally?
Yep, specific limits. Maximum altitude is 50 meters above ground level. That's it.
50 meters? That doesn't sound very high, actually.
It's not, is it? And it really drives home that direct visual contact rule. It forces you to keep it relatively close and low where you can genuinely see it well without needing aids. Commercial pilots might have different rules and tech for flying further or higher, but recreationally, it's all about that immediate visual oversight.
That makes the 50-meter limit make more sense. What about speed?
Maximum ground speed is 87 knots. And you also need to keep the drone close enough, horizontally close enough for that visual contact. Definitely no further than 500 meters away from you, the operator.
Okay, 50 meters up, 87 knots max speed, within 500 meters horizontally. Any other conditions?
Yes, flight visibility needs to be at least 3 kilometers. And you need to stay clear of clouds at least 150 meters vertically below any clouds.
Right, good visibility, stay out of the clouds. Now, let's talk about flying near people or buildings, infrastructure. That seems like a tricky area.
It is, and there are strict rules. General prohibitions, no flying directly over people. You also have to maintain a horizontal distance of at least 50 meters from anyone not directly involved in your drone flight.
50 meters buffer from bystanders. Okay.
Also forbidden. Flying over moving vehicles. And flying over or even within 150 meters horizontally of any infrastructure.
150 meters from infrastructure. What counts as infrastructure? And are there exceptions?
Infrastructure is broadly defined. We can touch on that later, but think buildings, roads, power lines, populated areas. The exception to that 150-meter rule is if you own the infrastructure, like your own house, or if you've got explicit permission from whoever owns or controls it. So your own backyard, probably fine. Flying within 150 meters of the local power station, definitely not, unless you have specific permission.
Okay. Own property, maybe. Okay. Critical stuff needs permission. What about those small drones again? Under 250 grams, do they get any leeway here?
They do, yes. A couple of specific exceptions for flying over people or infrastructure. A small drone can fly over people or infrastructure if it has no exposed moving parts that could cause injury. Think propeller guards.
Ah, okay. Safety feature needed.
And the drone must be flown so it doesn't stay over people in open areas or over moving vehicles. The rules clarify stays means things like hovering there or flying back and forth repeatedly over the same people or cars.
So loitering above people is out.
Exactly. But a brief one-time pass directly overhead as part of getting from point A to point B, that is permitted for these small, protected drones.
Yeah.
So quick flyover might be okay, circling or hovering is not.
That's a really useful distinction, staying versus a quick transit. Okay, now where can you absolutely not fly? The definite no-fly zones.
Right. Several categories here. First, designated no-fly zones. Airspace where all flight is banned unless the CAAI director specifically approves it. Simple as that.
Total prohibition. Got it.
Then you have restricted